Hey everybody, this is Jim at PurdueBandFan.com, and I brought two more band students in for an interview. And I have on the left Evan Rowe. Evan's a clarinet player. And Paul Thieme. Did I pronounce it right, Paul?
Yeah.
Paul is a trumpet player.
Yeah.
And they're both in operations for the band. And I thought it would be important for visitors to this site and especially band members and parents to know a little bit about what does operations really do, because without operations, the band would be in a world of hurt. So, and we'll talk about that, hurt, in just a minute. But let's start with a little bit. Evan, why don't you tell us where's hometown, what your major is, and so on.
All right, so my hometown is Grapevine, Texas, just outside of Dallas. I'm a fifth-year senior studying civil engineering.
So you went to the Dallas Bowl?
Yes, I
Yeah,
did.
all right.
I was
You were-
walking 15 minutes from my driveway.
Yeah, you were a freshman then.
Yes, I was a freshman. I actually hosted band students. They flew down early, a couple of them stayed at my house, and we
Oh, wow.
traveled to the bowl game together.
So you're one of the few in the band that's been to a ball game.
One of the few.
Yeah, okay. And your major again?
Civil engineering.
Civil engineering. Okay, we picked Purdue probably because of engineering, because you're from Texas, so
Yep.
yeah, you get used to the winters here.
Oh yeah, it's so much better than Texas.
Yeah.
I take cold over heat any day.
Okay, all right. And Paul, your hometown, major, and so on?
I'm from Noblesville, Indiana. It's about 15 miles north of Indianapolis. My major is agricultural engineering, machine systems, and I'm a junior.
So you have another year left.
I have 5 years left, hopefully.
Yeah, oh, yeah, right, okay,
Yeah.
all right, true. So I guess the first question is, before we talk about operations, how did you get started? What piqued your interest to decide, well, I think I'll go to that, what do you call it, a call out, right?
Yeah.
And I think I'll go and listen to what that's all about. So Evan, how did you get started?
All right, well, this is going to sound like a super old man saying here, but back in my day, there was no operations call out. It was just kind of you got grabbed off the street and more or less voluntold to join ops. The operations head at the time was Braxton Feltz. He was a mellophone player, and one of my good friends, Luke Peterson, was the assistant operations head. I got to know him through band camp and through the clarinet section, and one day basically threw a vest in my hand and said, "Hey, you want to learn how to block a street?" I said, "Sure,
Block.
why not?" I've never looked back.
Yeah, but you had no idea about the other
No, not at all.
aspects of it. Yeah.
Not at all.
Otherwise, maybe you wouldn't have done it.
That was a definitely learn as I went, and I
Yeah.
do not regret it at all.
Paul, how about you? How'd you get started?
In high school, there wasn't really an operations that students did. A lot of parents did it. And
Of course.
Having grown up on a farm, I helped them with moving stuff. I backed the trailer, like I backed the semi-truck for the band. I did some welding and stuff like that for props. So I got here to Purdue, and I saw him and Luke and people blocking the streets, moving water, driving the Gator, which was brand new at the time. And basically I said, "Hey, I want to drive that. It looks like fun." So I went to talk to Luke.
So did we have a call out at that time?
Yeah.
Okay. So why don't we start with, to me there's three components of operations. One is game day, one is an away game trip, and the third would be just the average, Monday through Friday rehearsal down at Hall Field. So why don't we start, because I think it's maybe most interesting on a home game day. How does that start? What time do you start? What happens?
So on a typical game day where kickoff is around noon, call time will be 2 hours before band. So band call time is 7:30, operations call time is 5:30. And so everyone in the office shows up, and we set up the stadium, Ross-Ade, we set up Hull, we set up Slater Center for post-game concert. We also take care of anything that any of the sections need or the directors need for us to do that day.
Or
How many?
Props for a halftime show, as we might be doing.
Props. Now how many, when you say we do that, how many would there be?
Well, I'd say between 30 and 35.
Usually between 30 to
Yeah.
35 now. It was never that big before. We've had these past 2 years we've really had some good fortune as far as turnout for our call outs. We've managed to grow the office significantly. So now instead of a small group of ops officers, it's a small army of ops officers.
Yeah.
There was, I know in the photo that I took, there was a lot of people in the photo.
There are a lot
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
It's very nice.
So does somebody go to Ross-Ade and somebody else goes to Slater? And you're setting up the sound system, and what else are you doing when you're there?
So that's typically handled by more senior members of ops, juniors, seniors, graduate students that have been around a long time. Each one of them will lead a crew of however many volunteers they can get, typically 3 to 7.
However many they can safely put in the vehicle they're driving.
Okay,
Or safely, yes.
safely, yeah.
Go with that.
Yeah, and they'll take the necessary equipment for their location, and they'll drive out to wherever they're going. So, for example, the stadium needs water jugs, they need the sound system, they need medical kit too, they need this certain list of equipment. Go out there, and the people who have done it before teach the new people how to set it up.
So you have a sort of a pre-flight checklist that you go over to make sure everything's done.
Yep.
And somebody is taking one vehicle to Ross-Ade, somebody else going to Slater, Mackey. Do you have to do anything at Mackey ahead of time?
No.
There's not. There are some things we have to do at Mackey. Normally carrying in a ladder and a megaphone, just a couple short little things, and those are handled on the fly. The ops officers will just follow the band into Mackey. There's no setup that has to go on beforehand.
So I don't know that people know that getting those ladders in position is not always easy. Get football teams running off the field. The ladder has to be ready to go when the band's ready to go, and we're all by timing, right? I mean, there's so many seconds after the game, after the halftime's over, we have to be ready to go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you have to have people down at the end zone ready to go with those ladders.
Yeah. A lot of that in-game communication is done by radios. A lot of members of the band, and I'm sure you have seen ops members with radio earpieces and
Right.
running around, and that's what those are for.
So you're communicating with them, it's time to go get the ladders. Are you telling them to do that, Paul?
A lot of it's me, yeah. A lot of it's the directors. Something a lot of people don't know is that Professor Conaway is actually up in the booth coordinating with the announcer, with the media guys, with the TV
Right.
crew, and giving us directions to work around them.
Okay.
There's also another element of coordination that goes on with the game day staff members for that particular game. We interface with Matt Skiba, who's our current graduate assistant, in coordinating the GDS to get to their ladders, make sure they know where they are, where they have to be, and by what time.
So during the game, you also have water, you have hot dogs, you have those logistics as well.
Yep.
Like you said, first aid, I mean, occasionally there's a need for that.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
Now, I also noticed before the game's over, you're starting to break stuff down.
Yeah.
That's another ops responsibility, is to get ready to go so that you're not stuck in the stadium when everybody else is leaving, huh?
Right.
Right. It takes such a long time, and it takes so much manpower to get all of our equipment moved that some of it we have to start taking as soon as we can.
Yeah.
In some instances, right after pregame. But for instance, 5 minutes before the end of the fourth quarter, half of the sound system goes to Slater, so that when the band gets there, there's already a sound system.
Yeah.
So that's why the last 5 minutes we only had 2 speakers and stuff.
Yeah.
Right. There's a lot of coordination behind the scenes, a lot of, I don't want to say chickens running around with their heads cut off, but in a controlled sense, it's essentially what we're doing. There's a lot of that going on behind the scenes that a lot of people don't necessarily realize.
So also these props that we use, the stars when we form the shield, the fire extinguishers or whatever we're using to shoot the smoke out, you're taking care of all that too, to making sure it's in the right place at the right time?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Making sure it's in the right place at the right time, sneaking it into an away stadium if we need to.
Oh yeah. Make sure they're filled, and
Make sure they're filled.
people don't drop them on the valve.
Make sure they're
Yeah.
tested, which is the fun part.
Yeah. Okay, so game day starts 2 hours before the band shows up. When is it over?
Whenever it's over.
Yep. When the last thing is put away in the ops office, that's when we all go home.
It typically takes 45 minutes to an hour after the band is dismissed.
Again, with the massive amount of people we have in the office this year, that pickup and put away goes really, really fast. It used to take 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Because we had a core of maybe 10 ops officers, and all of them were marching members of the band. This year and the year before, we've had the opportunity to grow the Blazer Corps, which are non-marching operations members. So that frees up the members of operations that are actually in the marching band to fill their bandsman responsibilities, while we can still have a very large ops presence on the field.
Who do the Blazers take direction from?
It's a combination of me and Dylan John. So Dylan John is the Blazer Corps captain, so he oversees them directly, and then it gets coordinated by me and Evan and the people that have been here.
So anything else in game day that we haven't talked about that you can think about?
There's a whole lot of little stuff.
Yeah, there's lots of little things. There's lots of fun things too. You know, up until this point, we've made up sound like a whole lot of work. There's a lot of fun that goes on too.
Yeah.
And that would be
Where do you think all the extra hot dogs go?
the extra hot dogs, yeah, okay.
Yep. I have there have definitely been games where I've eaten upwards of 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you also get to ride around sometimes and not have to march, right? I mean,
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
you know, in the
Sometimes
pickup or in one of the, we have a fleet now, it seems like.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. As I mentioned earlier, I partially joined because of the vehicles. Well, driving the Gator is just about as fun as it looks.
It is. You like that?
Fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we just finished adding a horn, which is fun. And we're in the process of adding emergency hazard lights. So like the orange strobe lights you see on
Yeah.
vehicles.
They're very bright.
Yeah, it's always made sense to me that even the Polaris, when it's trailing the band, ought to have some pretty bright lights to draw people's attention.
Absolutely.
Yep.
There is no shortage of fun, and there is no shortage of hilarious situations we find ourselves in.
I'll bet.
There's a lot of stuff outside of the game days and rehearsal that Ops gets to do. You get dry cleaning back first. Here coming up soon, we're actually having a dinner at Dr. Nave's house that she puts on for us. Ops gets to sleep over in Elliott for away games, things of that nature.
And Dr. Nave is that staff member that is responsible for
Yes, Dr. Nave
operations?
is our faculty advisor. She
Yeah, faculty
oversees,
advisor, okay.
She oversees interaction with the operations office on behalf of the faculty. Most of our direction comes explicitly from her.
Okay.
Yep.
And then I guess there would be an away game. It'd be the same routine on game day, except you're doing it somewhere else.
It's fairly similar, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, again, the call time is 2 hours before the band. Depending on where we're going, that can get a little bit early.
Yeah.
My freshman year, way back in the day, we traveled to Columbus, Ohio to play against Ohio State, and the band's call time was 3 a.m. So that makes ops call time 1 a.m.
Yeah.
So
You didn't go to sleep, did you, that night?
No.
Okay.
It's kind of become a tradition. We host the Ops Sleepover, which is our annual lock-in in the Hall of Music. Throughout the night, we host that before an away game, typically because our call time is so early.
Right.
So that night, we hosted the Ops Sleepover, didn't go to sleep, did the entire game day at Columbus, didn't get back till 3 o'clock Sunday morning, and finally went home and crashed.
I'll bet you crashed.
Yeah, it was not pretty.
Yeah.
Nearly 48 hours of no sleep.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
So, but the day-to-day operations between a home game and an away game are very much the same.
Except you have buses to load and unload.
Right.
Of course.
Yeah, we do a lot of unloading of our fleet of charter buses that it takes us to get.
And we ought to add one other advantage of being in ops is when we do go to an away game, the ops people get off the bus first.
Yes.
And they don't have to sit in there for another 20 minutes
Exactly.
while you're getting everything out
You don't have to
underneath.
change on the bus. You don't have to sit on the bus. You basically just have to be on the bus to get from point A to point B, and it's the most wonderful thing on the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the last thing would be, and we'll wrap this up, would be a regular day. The band rehearses from 3:30 to 5:30. I know you have ops people that stop traffic so they can march down 3rd Street. What are some of the other things that you have to do on rehearsal day?
So a lot of our just day-to-day things, again, is just walking streets. That's kind of our normal day-to-day operation. We, during the week, take care of any of the fire extinguishers that need to be refilled from previous game days. We'll take them to the fire station, get them filled up. We'll handle any requests from faculty. Dr. Nave will say, you know, we need this giant piece of, like,
Tarp.
poster board or tarp or cardboard or whatever. We need this giant thing at the field yesterday. So we'll run down there and make sure everything is set up just the way she needs it. Any other faculty will come to us with any issues, we're taking a different route this week, this street's blocked, this street's under construction.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Well, one of the nice things about being able to do that is you can make decisions on the fly. So if you need to derail the city bus system, that's within your power. You can do that.
Yeah.
If you need to split the band because of a fire truck,
Right.
you turn around and yell fire truck, and it's like parting the seas.
Yeah, it is true. I've seen that.
There is a certain amount of confidence that comes with being an ops officer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
very fun. It's very, very cool
Yeah.
to be able to, turn around and scream fire truck and watch the band split right down the
Yeah,
middle.
yeah.
Or,
And there's a certain amount of confidence you have to have when you're directing traffic. Like, no, don't go here.
absolutely.
You got to go that way.
You
Yeah.
absolutely
You can't be
have to stick your
tentative.
ground.
Yeah, you get to play chicken with buses.
Yeah.
It's pretty entertaining.
So you also have the sound system though every day on rehearsal, And I know that's some responsibility because you got to get the PA system back from every professor. Sometimes they're walking off with them maybe, or,
Yeah.
you know, they've never done that, right? Yeah.
They never walk off with the like belt microphones, but they walk off with megaphones. all the time.
Megaphones,
In
yeah.
fact, is there
Well, that's
one
another
in
thing
here
you have to
somewhere?
keep.
I already looked.
Oh,
I
okay.
already looked. Yeah.
That's another thing you have, I mean, megaphones, there's so much equipment that you have to deal with, isn't there?
Yeah.
It does tend to wander off sometimes. We've kind of tried really hard to get a good record-keeping system going and
Yeah.
make sure we know who
Where it
has
is,
what piece
yeah,
of equipment,
yeah.
where it is.
Yeah.
And traditionally, we've also been the first aid responders. This year, we have a trained EMT in the mellophone section named
Oh.
Noah.
Okay.
And he's been a huge help. So
Well, good.
It's our, a lot of our EMT training, at least for ops officers, is relegated to CPR training if we're really lucky,
Yeah.
and the occasional trial and error, you know.
We have had band alums in the past who are nursing graduates help us out as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Meg Hiley, I think Carolyn.
yeah, Carolyn Tripp.
Yeah, Tripp, yeah. So, okay, so one last question. What do you like, Evan, what do you like the most about operations?
I think the thing I like the most about operations is the fast-paced, having to think on the fly atmosphere. It really makes game days entertaining. For a normal bandsman, game days can kind of become a little mundane.